matchup
Yeah.
from
How'd that
Gridiron.
go?
Didn't go
It
so
didn't go.
well from our side of things last year, as Kenny
No,
can probably relate
I'm
to it.
saying pregame. How'd that go?
Oh, pregame. So yeah. So
Move
basically,
your
looking
camera
at
down a little bit, Jace. Move your camera down a little. There you
okay.
go. There you go.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I've been having some difficulties, but I think we're straightening them out. So
All good.
yep. So basically, what was the question? I'm sorry.
Said how'd it go last year for you?
Oh yeah, not so well. Not so well. So it was a great experience. You know, Superdome to open the season up, pregame and everything. But really, LSU just started off the game pretty slowly, and you can tell that this is a team that was trying to figure things out on the fly, especially at the very beginning, with a new quarterback and a new offensive line. Really new a new head coach, new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator. You can just tell that this was a team as the game was going on was really trying to figure things out. Late they got things clicking obviously late in the game with Jane Daniels threw a touchdown pass to Jeray Jenkins, but it was pretty sloppy for the most part. There were some opportunities there on offense to get again in the red zone and to score some points, score some touchdowns. Special teams, that was really a big headline from last
Mm-hmm.
year. There was a missed field goal, a blocked field goal to the blocked extra point, Jared Verse as well, and then really the muff punts. That was really the biggest thing too. LSU was really fortunate to even have a chance at the very end. You know, as Jane Daniels connected with Jeray Jenkins in the back of the end zone. Brian Kelly decided to kick the extra point, and the extra point was blocked. So and that's pretty much how the game went. Florida State really outplayed LSU. LSU just couldn't get off the field on third down. Jordan Travis was really extending plays with his feet and escaping sacks. LSU just could not bring him down. LSU really held their own on the first and second down. With third down, really Travis was really killing LSU's secondary and LSU's defense, and it also didn't help with Mason Smith going down too on the very first drive, and on a fluke play too, like of him celebrating after the play as well. So it was just a lot of weird things really happening in that game. To have the game in it and a blocked extra point after LSU drove 99 yards just to get in that position. It was a game full of ups and downs, as you can say, really from both teams. Because really look at the Florida State side of things, really Florida State thought they had the game won after Malik Neighbors fumbled the football, and then Florida State fumbles the football right back, gives LSU an opportunity. So it was definitely a weird game, a lot of
Man,
voodoo going on in New Orleans.
Jace, I'm gonna give you a stat.
All right, Kenny.
That was my first road game ever doing as a fan. I went to New
Okay.
Orleans for the first time, so I'm 1-0, and I'm going to Orlando. So you tell me what that make us. But hey, what you were saying, we walked back to the hotel after that fumble just to escape the crowd and all that. And
Same here.
literally we was walking and we looking at it was a restaurant closed. And I said, hey babe, stop real quick. So we stopped and looked in the restaurant and these fuckers was coming back. So
Yeah.
it's it's me and my girl in a mosh pit of like it's LSU fans all around, and we, like I said, we right by Bourbon Street where we stayed at the Holiday Inn, and we like looking at this game, and when it came down to the kick, it had to be no lie, 300 LSU fans around, like just everybody just standing still, and me and her the only Florida State people, and when they blocked that kick, I broke character. I said, fuck yeah, all that, and I'm so thankful that LSU fans aren't like Gator fans and stuff like that because
Shit.
I ain't get jumped. I ain't get.
I seen some
I
rowdy
was getting
ones.
high fives like good game, man. That was a good game, and
You
it
ran into some good ones then, because I seen
I
some
appreciate.
rowdy ones, bro. Like I seen,
There's
You
some
seen
rowdy
Rowdy
ones.
yeah, man. Our producer, my old business partner got beat up out there by some LSU fans, man.
they
Got
got
robbed and
beat
all.
up
Yeah, bro.
in
Like
Baton
LSU.
Rouge though.
No, in New Orleans. We was in. I was at the game. I left around the same time you did. My brother's a Florida State fan. He's
Oh,
producing the show
okay.
right now. We left right after the fumble as well, trying to beat the crowd. We had a Sunday show to do after show, so we trying to get back to the hotel as well. But nah, LSU fans, even at the tailgating, dog, they rowdy. They were not. They was with the shits a little bit, Kenny.
So I'm gonna see something in Orlando.
You might,
Oh yeah,
you might
they're gonna make the travel. They'll make the travel for
for
sure.
sure. Let's
Nah,
get
so
into this.
Jace, I
Let's get into
only
this
got a
breakdown.
few questions, and I like to keep it simple.
Yeah,
What is it going?
I'd rather keep it simple. I'm
Hey,
kind of not used to be on the other end answering
nah, I ain't gonna
questions.
beat you up with no statistics and whatnot, but hey, in simple terms, what is it gonna take for y'all to beat us? Besides the quarterback play.
Yeah. Really, if you look at both, and it's funny because Brian Kelly met with us a couple days ago on Monday, and he just said like mirroring both teams. If you look at LSU and Florida State and put them in the mirror, I mean they pretty much reflect each other in a lot of different ways. I mean they both have quarterbacks that are really under the radar when it comes to like the Heisman coming up. Expected both quarterbacks expect to have big seasons. Both can make plays with their legs and their arm, can extend plays. They got both teams have a deep running back rotation. Both teams have really plenty of talent at the receiver position. And you look at the defensive side of the football, both teams have just like game changer. Verse for Florida State and
Mhm.
Perkins at LSU. So I mean, you just look at both teams. They both hit the transfer portal pretty hard. So you look at both teams, it's pretty similar if you put them in the mirror. But what's going to take to win this game is what played LSU really last year in a 1 point loss. It was special teams, and really Malik Neighbors muffing a couple of punts, and then Ramos missing a field goal, a blocked extra point, obviously. So really, LSU really struggled in that department. And if LSU needs to come out with a win, they're going to have to make those plays on special teams and not have fumbles, not have turnovers, not give an explosive offense like Florida State any more room to really capitalize on those opportunities. So as far as keys to the game, I would have to say that's really a big one to watch out to see how much improved LSU is really in that area.
Yeah, and I know a couple of my keys were obviously the quarterback play. Who makes the less mistakes is going to win the game, and you got a savvy vet in Jordan Travis who he can make a play out of no play. So I know a big key is when I looked at you guys' third down efficiency, you guys struggle in a sense, and I think that a guy like Adam Fuller will take a hold of that and send some blitzes your way. How do you feel about you guys' third down rate versus coming versus last year versus this year?
Yeah, third down rate, and that was really passing down. So it was most
Mm-hmm.
likely, with LSU struggling early in the year, because Jaden Daniels, I mean, especially early in the year, it was really
Yeah.
a struggle. With him trying to connect those receivers, trying to have trust in his receivers, having trust in his O line. Because I mean, if you can recall in the Florida State game, if his number one receiver was not open, he took off and
Yeah.
ran.
Yeah.
Because I mean, this shows off the wheels and everything, but really it's just trust in receivers. And it grew, the Florida game last year. You can tell that, Jaden took a
Hey,
step
man.
in that area. We had a pretty good 3 game stretch, right, with Florida, Ole Miss, and Alabama. That's probably as good of a 3 game stretch I've ever seen from a quarterback. But really early in
Yeah.
the season, it was just having trust in those receivers and trusting to throw the football down the field. So it was really trust that the lack of trust early in the year really played them in a lot of third down situations. And really, they've focused a whole lot with that with Jaden Daniels this offseason. They've worked with Jaden. We were going through his progressions, going through his second progression, going through his third progression. And you can tell that he's been working on a lot of that during the offseason.
Yeah. No, and that's like I said, that's one of the things as a I'm not going to say former receiver because that's in my blood. As a receiver,
Right.
that's one of the things that you do look forward to on third downs is having options, and that's one of the things that I did notice. His efficiency goes down, the interception goes up. So I think that if we create some havoc, we will. It's a few keys to the game. It's quarterback play. It's how they bounce back from the havoc play. And as you see, Jordan Travis is a squirmy guy. I'm looking forward to seeing because I at the end of the day, I like seeing guys progressing in the game. So if Jaden Daniels do his thing, he do his thing. I'll be proud of him. But in a sense, I do want to know: do you guys have a key? Do you have an answer for verse?
Yeah. So we feel. I mean, well,
Truthfully,
LSU.
truthfully.
Yeah. Truthfully,
Put,
LSU's in
what,
a
hold
much
on, hold
better
on. You look
position.
you look like the guy from what's the TV show? TV show where he'll like have his face at the fence. What's his name? Home
Oh,
Improvement.
Home Improvement.
Yeah, yeah, that's what you look like a little bit there, bro. There you go, there you go. Yeah, that's perfect, bro.
I got you. Yeah, that's perfect. So yeah, LSU feels better in that aspect than last year because
Now you're a little low on
I,
the volume. I'm sorry.
okay, is this
There you
good?
go. They're
Yeah, that's
perfect,
better.
perfect. There you go.
Okay, perfect. So LSU really feels better in that aspect when going off against like a guy like Verse, because you have a guy in Will Campbell at left tackle, and you have a guy at right tackle in Emory Jones. Both those guys did something that's not really expected to do in the SEC, and that is to start your freshman year. And both of them did it at a pretty high level. Will Anderson was going up against Will Campbell, and Will Campbell pretty much held his own, against them. So what they did last year, you're probably not going to ever really see that again. I mean, it's not often you just throw two freshmen into the fire, through
Yeah.
it last year, but they held their own really well. And for Jared Verse, is like that's the matchup. If you go and kind of watch off the ball, especially when Verse goes against those tackles, whether it's Emory or Will Campbell, that's going to be like two first round pick, like Will Campbell and Verse. Those are two first round picks going at it, future first round picks. So obviously, who comes out the better of that matchup could be a huge key. But LSU, they can hold their own, especially better in this situation this year compared to last year because LSU, they were doing a lot of mixing and matching on the offensive line. They didn't really know who they really had entering
Yeah.
that game. So going to this year, it's LSU feels a lot more comfortable with their starting five. It's pretty much the starting five they had last year. All pretty much new starters at the beginning of the year. So LSU is going to be feeling more comfortable in that situation than last season.
Real quick on Campbell, you guys gave him the honorary, like a weird honorary name, legendary seven. So he's not gonna actually wear the offense. I thought it would have been cool if he would have wore it at offensive tackle, but he's not gonna wear. You guys gave him a patch or something like that. What's your opinion on him getting that number seven and Brian Kelly's new twist on the culture?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of fans have been kind of mixed on it because LSU has used to produce number sevens at the skill positions. I mean, you just see it every year, whether it was Patrick Peterson, Tyron Matthew, Leonard Fournette. It goes on and on. Everybody is used to either a defensive back or a skill position player. So it was a unique take by Brian Kelly. I do get where he's coming from because he wants to establish a culture. And knowing Brian Kelly and Notre Dame and his background in Notre Dame, he prides himself in his offensive line and his tight ends playing physical football, and he wants to bring that back to LSU and given the number seven to Will Campbell, watching him at fall camp is pretty amazing because I don't think Will Campbell has really lost a rep in practice. And a lot of times he goes up against Harold Perkins. So, and a lot of times he shuts him down, which is very impressive to see. But if you have to give it to your best player from Louisiana, it's Will Campbell. Like if an injury happens, like with Will Campbell, he is definitely their most irreplaceable player when it comes down to it. But he's just a guy that you cannot replace if he goes down. It pretty much puts a domino effect to his offensive line. So Will Campbell was definitely deserving of it. I do like that he's going to get the honor of wearing number seven, and it's a really good recruiting tactic too for Kelly because he can use this as like recruiting some of the best offensive linemen in the country, telling them that hey, number seven can go to an offensive lineman. So that's going to be a definitely
Right.
big recruiting tactic too when it comes down to it. But Will Campbell, even though he's not going to touch the football, obviously nobody's going to have a lot of eyes on him. Everybody's going to be focusing on Jaden Daniels and watching him and watching the receivers with the football. But when it comes down to their most valuable player on offense, it probably has to be Will Campbell.
Okay.
Okay.
Were there any shocks to the depth chart release from you guys?
So Brian Kelly has given his thoughts on the depth chart, and basically he's saying that we haven't gotten a depth chart, so he hasn't
Mm.
really released a depth chart. But going to practice, and Brian Kelly really gives us a lot of access to practice, and which LSU hasn't really given a lot of prior to Kelly, with Coach Orgeron and Les Miles prior to him. But basically the depth chart hasn't been released, but we pretty much know who a lot of the starters are going to be, especially at the quarterback, the offensive line. You know who the starters are going to be. Tight end Mason Taylor, with the freshman season he had last year. Really, the question marks go as far as the depth chart is really concerned. Is two positions, and it's running back, because LSU just has so many running backs. You got about 8 of them that are really good. But I mean, it's not going to really matter if it's really the first start because they're going to be rotating a lot. It's going to be a running back by committee, just like you really saw with the Les Miles teams at LSU in the mid 2010s. But and also in the secondary. See, we got a picture of who will be in the back half of the defense. You're gonna have Major Burns who is back. You have Greg Brooks who's gonna play nickel. Those are really the two veterans in the back end. But you also have a guy like a couple transfers too, like Zy Alexander, who's
Mhm.
actually handled himself pretty well. He's a transfer from Southeastern Louisiana University. Had a really good fall scrimmage and had to cover Malik Neighbors a lot. And really, as far as receivers around the country, there's few better than Malik Neighbors. He's been really a beast in practice. But you have Andre Sam. He's another transfer. He's actually on the back half of the defense at safety as well. He comes in from McNeese State. And really the biggest question mark, Sage Ryan is also getting a lot of looks at outside corner, which is very unique because Sage has always played safety or nickel. He's never played outside corner, and he's
Yeah.
starting in the first game. So really, the secondary, everybody's going to be paying attention to that because there are a lot
Yeah.
of question marks. That's where comes the most question marks about this team is the back end of the defense. So that's going to be definitely something to take a look at for Sunday
Yeah.
night.
Yeah, and like to what you to your point is it's a first game. It's a top 10 matchup. Usually, you come in with a cupcake first game just to fill out if you got the right pieces. So I think this game will be very low scoring, and I think it comes down to defense, who can contain who. Because we both got explosive players on offense. I know for sure we got some X factors who haven't been getting talked about, who kind of shocked the no nation with the depth
Give us
chart.
give us
But
give us some X factors. Who you got?
oh,
Who
I
you got?
definitely have Destin Hill is an X factor. Keon Coleman will emerge in the Seminole gear. I know he has been proven in his previous team, but I think he has a coming out game against LSU as well. So
Those
those,
are those are really good picks, Kenny, because
yeah,
they're both Louisiana guys, and
yeah,
so you know they're gonna want to go at LSU.
and I did see No Nation was shocked at the depth chart in a sense, but I really wasn't because obviously I know good receiver play. But when it comes down to the game, I think it's a low scoring game. I think it's going to be a bang bang matchup. So it's going to come down to quarterbacks who make the less mistakes, in my honest opinion.
Hmm.
Yeah, very
So
well
my
could.
so my predicted score would be 24-14.
You jumped ahead. You jumped out early with that prediction. I like that 24-14 score. Real quick, I think
Go
my
no.
my keys to this game. I think the matchups between Verse, Jordan Travis, Harold Perkins. I'm sorry, Harold Perkins, Jordan Travis, and Verse and Jaden Daniels is the matchup that's going to decide this game, in my opinion. Both of those quarterbacks leave the pocket and cause chaos. So
Mhm.
being able to keep them in the pocket is going to be key. Uh, we'll see if Campbell could keep Verse in check. But I think that's the key matchup. What do you think about that, Jace?
Yeah, I agree. That's definitely a key matchup that everybody's looking at. And looking at LSU side of things, obviously a big headliner is Mason Smith being
Right, right.
suspended for the first game and how much of an
Yeah.
impact he can really put on the game.
Mhm.
Brian Kelly even said, like, you can't really. Last year, you're able to shift one side or the other side without Smith. But with him in the game, you can't do that. But with him being out, obviously, it's a factor, but they do have good depth behind Mason Smith. The only thing is, like, they're going to be able to, they can stop the run. These are like very capable guys behind Mason Smith, and they're actually more like they're deeper than they were last year at the position. The problem is that you just can't replace a game record like
Right.
Mason Smith. And Harold Perkins, as far as that's going to be a big key to see how Matt House, the defensive coordinator, uses him, because you're not going to have Mason Smith that help balance that. So if you're Matt House, you're going to have to move around Harold Perkins a little bit more than what you probably would have seen him move around if he wasn't there. And Harold Perkins was not in; he didn't play against Florida State last year. He didn't. I mean, he really didn't play until about Mississippi State, Tennessee is when we started to see more of him and what he can do. But containing Jordan Travis, I mean, and seeing what Perkins does as a pass rusher is going to be obviously key, because LSU, as you recall, they've had trouble bringing down Jordan Travis a lot last year. They had a chance to
Everybody did.
get sack him, and they had him a couple of times, and he's just
Yeah,
able to
me,
make a play, get out of it, and
us too,
it's
Jace.
10. Yeah, yep.
We had him too.
Yeah, he's just that good. So that matchup, to see, first of all, if Harold Perkins can get there in the backfield, have opportunities to bring Travis down, and then second, for Perkins to actually bring him down. So that's just going to be really the key matchup when you look at that side, and you're going to need that pass rush, because I feel like one of the advantages Florida State has on LSU is their receivers against LSU's secondary, because it's just unknown, and really the depth is not really there yet in the secondary for LSU. So as the much pressure you can bring on Jordan Travis and get him in the backfield is going to help that defense even more. So as far as key player, I talked about Will Campbell on the offensive side of the football and trying to slow down Jerry Verse, but defensively, it has to be Harold Perkins. He has to be that guy, like he was against Alabama, like he was against Arkansas.
Okay.
Yeah. What you got for the score, Jace? Break us down with the score.
Oh yeah. So as far as the score is concerned, I'm leaning like the score. The numbers are the same. It's just the other way around. I have LSU winning about a 27-17 type of football game, and really because LSU is just so motivated for this game. I mean, you have to think a whole year about letting that one slip away against Florida State. So I think LSU is going to really come, and they're going to really want this one. And this is just a more veteran team. This you can look at really up and down the depth chart with, especially on the offensive side of the football. Jane Daniels comes back. He's another year in the system, another year with the same OC and Mike Denbrock. The offensive line is the same. The receivers, the prima starting receivers, are coming back. Mason Taylor at tight end, and defensively, we talk a whole lot about Harold Perkins, but keep an eye on Omar Spates. And he's going to be a really good counterpart, like a 1-2 punch to Harold Perkins, and that's going to be really fun to watch. So that could really free up a lot of opportunities for Harold Perkins to let loose and run loose. And LSU's got some very talented players on the defensive line too. And I feel like if they get enough pressure and Harold Perkins comes an impact, maybe the advantage of Florida State at the receiver position is going to be diminished a little bit if they can get pressure. That's a big thing. But I like LSU's offense. They've been really scary in fall camp. They've really been clicking a lot. Obviously, it's a different situation when you actually play in a live environment, especially against a top 10 team in Florida State in Orlando in a primetime game. The whole nation's watching this game. But I really like LSU. A lot of familiarity, and going to another year. A lot of veteran players, same OC, same DC, same head coach, and really, despite all of that last year, all the problems they had in that game, LSU was really 2 points away from winning that football game. Blocked extra point away from sending it to overtime. So I really like LSU in this one, but it should be a very fun game, very exciting game.
It should be one of the good ones to start off this week. We got a good layout for the big three, man. We going Thursday, Friday, then Sunday. It should be eventful.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be very eventful as it always is in a football state like Florida, with
Yeah.
Florida, Miami, and Florida State, and to have that game, especially how it was a classic game last year in the first game of the season. It should be another fun one, a top 10 matchup. Uh, I certainly believe that the loser of this game is definitely not out of the picture. Obviously, there's much less room for error. If you come out as a loser of this game, but really both these two teams, the way that they're built, the way they're stacked up, the way they address their needs, the transfer portal, both LSU and Florida State will be a major player in their conference by the end of the season.
Already.
I agree.
Hey, we appreciate you for hanging out with us, Jace. We'll get the rest of our predictions off, and then we're gonna ride off into the abyss.
I appreciate it, guys. Sorry for the technical difficulties and everything, but I
Oh no,
appreciate it.
it's all love. Tell the people where they can find you at, Jace.
Yes, so they can find us at gridironfootballusa.com. So it's gridironfootballusa.com is the website. We'll have some LSU Florida State previews coming up on Thursday. We'll have a preview up on our website. But to keep up with everything going on with us, go gridironfootballusa.com. And if you want to follow me on, I guess X, I'm still got to get used to saying that, not Twitter. Not